Okay, right. So good morning everyone. So let me first introduce myself. I'm Ashok. So I'm working as an assistant professor at International Institute of Business Studies, Bangalore. So I have been teaching UPSC for about 7 years. I'm an author as well. I have written books on science and technology and ecology for UPSC, and I'm authoring a new book on internal security for the mains. Right? So this is the brief profile. And other than that, I have about 12 different certifications as well. And I have published in international and national journals and as well as book chapters. This is a short profile about me. And the subject we're going to discuss today is science and technology. Right? So everyone understands English. So no one has any problem with it. So this will be my usual flow. Sometimes it might be fast. And you might assume that it is fast when you are not familiar with the concept. Right? So at that time, at any point of time, if you have any query, please raise your hand. I'll repeat the concept a number of times. Alright? So as I always tell my students, in the class you have to be as selfish as possible and don't think about others, what others might actually think when you ask a question. Right? So we don't classify doubts as good doubts or bad doubts. A doubt is a doubt. So if you have any kind of a query, please raise it immediately. I'll address that issue. Okay? So if you're not addressing that issue, the concepts which we're gonna discuss later on will falter. Right? You will not understand. So after that, the entire essence will be lost. And because we are taking classes for about 4 hours at a stretch, right? If you do not understand any concept in the first hour, the next 3 hours will be useless, and consequently the next concept which we are going to discuss the next day also will be totally pointless. So I request you sincerely to ask any kind of a query, and I promise you the class will be as entertaining as possible. Okay? Clear everyone? Right. So science and technology. So everyone is UPSC, APPSC group 1 or the others? UPSC, APPSC. Wonderful then. So in UPSC or APPSC, so we have specifically designated syllabus for science and technology, ecology. So first we're going to discuss about the purpose of incorporating science and technology. So probably most of you students are from mathematics background or some other background where after 10th you have left the entire biology or the science part. Right? So the only science we remember is the Newton's 3 laws, and within those 3 laws we learn only the third law. Right? Other than that we don't remember anything. Right? The basic concepts. So when it comes to biology part, we remember mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. After that we don't remember anything. Right? So why UPSC has incorporated, or APPSC group 1 has incorporated science and technology as a specific subject? Because the very one thing is, we are trying to solve the people's problems using science and technology. So that is the main reason why we are incorporating this particular subject. So everything is technology driven in our society right now. Right? And with the robust technology transitions which are happening, so as you can see, the ChatGPT has revolutionized the artificial intelligence systems, and the purpose they are coming with are magnificent. So that is the reason, to solve the people's problem, we need to know about the technology. Without the technology, we take a hell lot of time to solve a particular problem, but the use of technology, we are able to solve it immediately. Right? So as the administrators, you need to have the knowledge of what technology is present right now and which can be used to solve the people's problems. And we call it e-governance. Right? We call all this as e-governance. The previously, if you really want to approach for any approval to a government, so you need to walk a lot of offices and a lot of managers, and you need to take the approvals from them. And now it is a single window system where you have to submit a file at one particular location and they will go along and you can apply it online. Right? So that's why the technology is most important. And before I start the concepts of science and technology, let us first understand what is science and technology. So what is science in your opinion? And by the way, it is interactive session, so you can talk as you like. Okay? So what is science? What do you think is science is? Yeah, science is nothing but facts. What is actually happening outside, right? That is what the science is, right? It is the knowledge of what's happening around you, right? The pure facts. So that is what we call science. And what is technology? When you apply this science and you create something new, we call it technology, right? So how am I able to see you wearing different colors? That is science, right? So the visual spectrum falls on you, and the material absorbs all the light and reflects some colors, and that reflected colors comes to my retina, right? And it will be stored in the brain. So that is science. And with the video camera, what we are doing, we created a technology where it captures the reflected light and stores in the memory device, right? So that is technology. Please come in. So that is technology. So we understood what is science and what is technology, but in the first few hours we are not going to discuss about this science and technology what you perceive to be, but we're going to discuss geography. So why, sir? Geography topics are already done with, or somebody else is going to teach. Why do you have to start with geography? Right? You might have this question. So the reason why I specifically start with geography is because if the earth is not present, do we have science and technology? Do we have UPSC exam? Do we exist? No. So let us start with the basic understanding of how the universe has actually formed. Right? So we'll start with that. Right? So as we already know, about 13.7, geography is done with? So everyone knows. Okay, wonderful then. So 13.7 years, what was the event that actually led to the creation of the universe? Big Bang, right? My writing is the worst thing, so please apologize me, right? Really, thank you, right? So we call it Big Bang. So what is this Big Bang called? So there was something called singularity, right? There was something called singularity, and from the singularity the universe expanded. There was a bang. There was a big bang that actually started everything, right? So that is what we call Big Bang. So what do you mean by singularity? Singularity is nothing but, as we are seeing black holes, you know Milky Way galaxy, right? So the sun is revolving around the Milky Way galaxy, right? So in the center of the Milky Way galaxy, for the sun to rotate or revolve, there is a supermassive black hole at the center of the Milky Way galaxy, and the black hole's attraction power is so high that everything that comes near its vicinity will be absorbed. Even the light cannot escape. Through a black hole. The gravity of the black hole is so immense that even the light cannot escape. The light also pulled towards the black hole, right? And the center of the black hole, the mass as well as gravity are infinite. The gravity is infinite. So we are staying on the earth because of the gravity, 9.8 meters per second. For all the physics calculation, we take it as 10 so that it becomes easier. Multiplication becomes easier, right? So that is the gravity, right? In the space, it is 0. On a freely falling body, it is 0, right? So that is what we call gravity. The gravity is infinite. That means everything is pulled, even the light is pulled, right? So that is called singularity. So from the singularity, everything is absorbed. The entire universe is absorbed, and it was like singularity. Everything is as one. And that singularity has expanded. So when it expanded from the singularity, there was a mass of cloud. There was a mass of cloud that actually resulted from it. So if there are many particles that are distributed, what can be the common property of every particle? So every particle in the universe that existed, precisely to say atoms, right? Every atom or every molecule in the universe tends to attain one common aspect: stability. The reason why you're sitting here is for the same, right? Stability. Sir, some job, sir. So if the job comes, then my life will be stable, I can start a family. Without a job, it is very difficult, especially for the boys. For the girls, at least there is a luxury, sir. Whether the career is working or not, family life has to function. Right? Indian societies. Right? But for the guys, the job, stability matters the most. Right? So every molecule in the universe also has the same principle. They want to attain the stability. So how can they attain the stability? So they attain the stability by reducing the surface area. So there was a question which I asked. Why all the intergalactic bodies are spherical in shape? Why all the intergalactic bodies, whatever you see in the space, everything is almost spherical? Why? Because of the gravitational rotation. Okay. So because of the gravity, everything comes together. But why should it be only in a particular shape? It can be from any shape, right?
In a planet, particular planet, gravity will be the same. So in all the directions, same force will be.
It can be pulled, no? Yes, the gravity is one reason. Because at the center, there was some kind of a gravity where it is pulling from all the directions. But most importantly, rather than the gravity, it is the surface area that matters the most. To attain more stable configuration, only the sphere has the least surface area. So what if it has the least surface area? When you have the least surface area, that means on the surface there are least number of molecules that gonna react. If there are less molecules that gonna react, that means it is more stable. Right? So more molecules that are reacting, it is unstable. You know the nanotechnology. Beautiful technology. Right? So carbon we have, diamond we have, graphite we have, the coal we have. But the carbon nanotubes have a different tensile strength. They have different ductility. Right? Everything is totally different when it comes to the nanoparticles. Why? Because in a nanoscale, the number of reacting molecules on the surface increases. We are increasing the surface area. So its reactive properties are changing when you are increasing, when you are reducing the size of the particles. Right? The same way as the sphere, as you see, it has the least surface area. That's why the water droplets are spherical almost when they are coming down. Right? So they attain to, so if the water is spilled, they try to attain the least surface area. Stability matters the most. So to attain the stability, so what happened? The particles started to come together. To attain the stability, the gas cloud is there. The gas cloud is there. So all the molecules started to come together. When they started to come together, then some kind of an object started. And with this, when there is mass, there is gravity. Right? So gravity is directly proportional to m1 m2 by r square. Right? So gravity is directly proportional to the product of the masses between the objects and inversely proportional to the square of the radius between them. 9th class physics. Right? Long ago, so long ago. Right? We have studied and we have forgot. Not an issue. Right? So when there are two particular objects that are present, right? And this is of m1 and this is of m2. So gravity is proportional to the product of the masses. That means more the mass, more the gravity. Right? More the mass, more the gravity. So as the size increases, as the molecules associate, the mass is increasing, so the gravity is also increasing. So when the gravity is also increasing, it will pull everything within its vicinity. So that is how the spherical objects formed in the universe. When the spherical objects formed in the universe, now the next stage, when the mass has become sufficiently high enough, when the mass has become sufficiently high enough, now at the center the gravity will become so high and the pressure becomes so high that the atoms that are present within their territory will fuse together, creating the fusion reaction. Right? Creating the fusion reaction, the hydrogen combines to form the helium, releasing enormous amount of energy. That is how the stars were formed. That is how the stars were actually formed. So at the center now, when the mass has become high enough, at the center the pressure becomes so high. right? The pressure becomes so high that the atoms fuse together, forming the fusion reaction, resulting in the formation of stars, right? When the size is not sufficient enough, right? Sometimes because of the pressure, the fusion might happen, but that fusion reaction is not sustainable. It is not a sustainable fusion reaction. We call those as dwarf stars. Dwarf stars, right? So in our solar system, what is the largest planet? Exactly, what is a dwarf star? Failed star. It is a failed star. So the size is really high. It is thousands of times bigger than the Earth. Size is really high, but unfortunately what happened? The size is not so big so that it can become a star. It is like all the Group 1 officers who aspire to become an IAS officer at one point of time, prepared for UPSC, failed unfortunately. So I am the little example. I am an assistant professor right now. Failed in the UPSC, right? And then became a teacher. So we are the failed stars, right? Size is not so big enough that it can sustain the fusion reaction for a longer period of time. Okay? So if the size is big enough, it becomes a star, right? So that is how the stars are formed. Once the stars are formed, now the planets, right? How the planets are formed? Now when the size is increasing, everything is pulled because of the gravity within its vicinity, right? Everything is pulled. When everything is being pulled together, so that attraction force will be sufficient enough to pull at some distance only, right? So any of you are in a long distance relationship? Anyone? No relationship only. Right? So if you think about the long distance relationship, Anakapalli Visakhapatnam might work, but Anakapalli and America cannot work, right? So when it comes to the long distance, so the distance matters here. For the attraction force to work, distance matters. So within the against that particular domain, so whatever the particles, they cannot be attracted towards the sun. So the particles that are present in that will come together there only, forming the planets. So the gas clouds that are present farther away from the sun, they cannot come and associate with the stars. So these particles will start coming together, forming the planets, smaller planets, right? That is how the planets are formed, right? So as you can see, when it comes to the planets, we have 8, right? We have 8 planets: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. And when I was in schooling, we have a Pluto. When we were in schooling, we had a Pluto, right, which was also a planet. Now it's a dwarf planet, right? So we have downgraded it to be a dwarf planet. So what are the reasons for downgrading a planet? That means there should be a reason to call something a planet, right? So what is a star? So which can emit energy, that is a star, which is actually shining. That twinkle twinkle little star, right? So when it is twinkling, that is a star. Planet only reflects the sunlight. It doesn't have its own source of energy. It only reflects. But what are the other reasons for a star? Even the Pluto is reflecting the sunlight, right? But what are the reasons why the Pluto has been downgraded? To understand that, we have to know the reasons to call something a planet, right? So what can be the possible reasons to call something a planet? Anyone? What are the reasons to call something a planet? Anyone? Okay, yes, the basic thing, right? It has to move around a star, right? So what do you call, who do you call someone a husband? The one who revolves around the wife. The common principle, right? So something which revolves around a star is a planet. So the very first condition. Is Pluto not revolving, is Pluto not revolving around the sun? Yes, it is revolving. Then why Not Pluto. So what are the other reasons?
Based on size.
Size also matters. I cannot, yes? Specific path, orbit. So it is revolving in a particular orbit. It has to have an orbit. So first thing is revolution around a star. The next component is the size. I cannot throw a ball into the space and call it a planet. The size has to be sufficient enough. We have asteroids, we have the comets, right? So to call it a planet, the size has to be sufficient enough. The size matters. The Pluto is a bit small, right? And one other thing is, it should not be affected by the gravity of the other planets where it deviates from the path. It has to clear its own path, because in the universe there are many objects. So imagine the sun is also moving, around the sun the planets are also moving. So in that path, nothing should come, nothing should interact. It has to clear its own path. If the path is not cleared, what happens? The planet is destroyed. You cannot call it a planet. There is no planet to call, right? So if everyone, so have you seen, have you been to metro, Delhi metro, ever? Yes. When you went to Delhi metro, it is like, you stay there, people will only take you, people will only bring you out, right, with a group. There is no way where you walk freely. You can only walk freely in a metro after 11 o'clock at night. That's all, right? It is that rush, right? So if you want to move in a particular direction and everyone is coming in the opposite direction, can you go? Can you exist? No. The same way, for the planet to exist, it has to clear the path, right? So that is one of the criteria where the Pluto's gravity is being affected by the different planets where it deviates from the path. So you cannot call it a planet, call it a dwarf planet, right? So we know what are planets now, right? We know what are planets. Now the satellites. So among these four, among these 8, these 4 are terrestrial planets, these 4 are gaseous planets. So why do you classify something as terrestrial and gaseous? What is the reason behind the existence of 2 different types of planets within the same solar system? Why?
The planets which doesn't have much gravitation, the material will be in gases.
Exactly, right? So because they are closer to the sun, the sunlight is abundant enough that because of the sunlight, the gases escaped from the solid particles. The gases escaped, forming the atmosphere, making the planet solid, terrestrial. Right? So if the gases are present within the soil particles or within the everything, so everything is gas only. It is not a rock solid. Right? So temperature is high. So as we have the Charles law, Boyle's law, some nonsense laws we have in physics, right? So as the temperature increases, the pressure decreases, right? Temperature increases, pressure decreases, right? When the temperature increases, the gaseous particles expand, reducing the pressure, okay? So as you can see, so as the temperature is increasing, the gases are expanding. So everything, the planet exists within those gaseous particles are there. So because of the sunlight, the gases expand and come out, forming the rock solid structure. So we call them terrestrial planets. Whereas here, the farther away from the sun, there is no enough sunlight only. Right? When there is no enough sunlight, so the gases are already included within the planet. So we call them gaseous planets. Right? So we have terrestrial planets, we have gaseous planets. So within these terrestrial planets, which planet has a moon? Obviously, no, not all. Earth. Right? We have Earth having a moon. So how Earth has a moon? Why Earth is so special? Why Earth has a moon? So that we will compare, because in the future the men will exist, so that the men will compare the women with the moon. So you know, you look like a moon. So that's why we need something that's why it exists. No, that is not the reason. So no, not because of the gravity, because we have a theory called giant impact theory. We have a concept called giant impact theory. That means some asteroid from some other planet, icy asteroid. That is how we have water, right? Some icy asteroid has stuck to the earth, right? So because of that, whatever the dust particles that rose into the atmosphere created moon, right? So that's why we have moon on the earth, because of the giant impact theory. That is how we got water, right? The water is much older than our solar system. The water on the earth is much older than the solar system, right? So that is how we got water. Okay, so that is how we have the terrestrial planets and the gaseous planets. So because we are talking about the earth, what other reasons why earth is special, that the life only exists on the earth? Life exists on the earth, yes, exactly, right? So the very first reason is it is in the Goldilocks region, right? So Goldilocks region, what do you mean by Goldilocks region? It is not the gold which you think of, right? So it is not the lock which you think of. So what is this Goldilocks? So Goldilocks region is the position within the solar system which is neither too close to the sun or neither too far away from the sun, that the life could exist. If it is too close to the sun, if the temperature increases 2 degrees, we can't sustain in Visakhapatnam. With all the humidity, right, with all the profuse sweating, we cannot sustain, right, with 2-degree raise. So if the earth is close, impossible. If the earth is farther, ice, right, during winters, dead winters, during nights, right? So it is very difficult to sustain. So it is exactly in a comfortable position that it is neither too close, neither too far away from the sun, right? So that is Goldilocks region. It is in the right comfortable spot where life could sustain. Okay, so before I go to the second reason, right? So which is the hottest planet in the solar system? Closest? No, Venus is the hottest planet. Venus is the hottest planet, not Mercury. Even though the Mercury is closer to the sun, why Venus is the hottest? Presence of atmosphere. Because the Mercury is close, but because it is close, all the atmosphere is pulled towards the sun. Gravity. So there is no atmosphere. So whatever the sunlight that is coming, that is being reflected. Albedo. Reflected sunlight. Albedo. So whatever sunlight that is coming, it is reflecting, that's all. So that's why it is not the hottest. But in the Venus we have the atmosphere. Within the atmosphere we have greenhouse gases. What is the property of the greenhouse gases? They trap the heat energy, they absorb the heat energy, they reflect the heat energy towards the surface, right? So because of which the Venus is the hottest planet, not the Mercury, right? And the Mercury size is not so big enough that it could sustain the atmosphere, that it could hold the atmosphere, right? It cannot do that. So that's why on the Mercury atmosphere is not there. From the Venus the atmosphere is there, greenhouse gases. Are greenhouse gases advantageous or disadvantageous? Greenhouse gases, both. They are naturally advantageous. They are maintaining the surface temperature of the sun, surface temperature of the earth. They are maintaining the habitable conditions. If the greenhouse gases were not there, the average global temperature would fall below minus 15 degrees centigrade. That means we will all freeze to death. Nothing can sustain without the greenhouse gases. Nothing can sustain. So greenhouse gases are extremely good, but unfortunately we are increasing the carbon dioxide concentration artificially, right? Which you are trapping more amount of heat, causing different kind of natural calamities, right? So on the earth, coming back to the earth, on the earth we have atmosphere. That means the second reason why the life could possibly exist on the earth is because the size of the earth is sufficient enough to hold the atmosphere, right? If some planet is within the Goldilocks region but size is not good, right? You got first rank, you want to become an IPS officer, but height only this much. Thief is running, with your tiny legs you cannot run, right? So that's why for